Yes, first of all, I also want to thank everybody for this nice program, especially to the scientific committee. And the talk, I think, is of the talks have a very good sequence. And now with the DSEC DMEC, we have current interest in endothelial cell-based therapy. So my talk will cover where are we so far in terms of endothelial cell-based therapy in the present times. Now, a little bit word about the corneal endothelium. We all know that the corneal endothelium is arrested in the stage G1 phase of the cell cycle, and once mature endothelial monolayer has formed, the proliferation and replication ceases to be in the in vivo. So you don't have replication of the endothelial cells. So how does endothelium heal? We all know that it is by cell enlargement and migration, which are the major means of repair, as a result of which there is an increase in cell size with age. Now, endothelium does retain its proliferative capacity, and given the proper conducive conditions in vitro, these cells can be made to divide in vitro under suitable environment, which means that there's a potential to culture the patient's own endothelium or from the donor corneal endothelium. Now, when we have the standard management of endothelial diseases with the DSEC and DMEC, and they have great outcomes, and as Vineet and they pointed out, the results are gratifying. So why do we need to culture the endothelium? So first and foremost, I would say, like, many countries of the world have an unmet demand for donor corneas, and it has kind of this demand supply ratio has got imbalanced because of COVID times also. And as Asta pointed out, the ratio of one person versus the needy transplants is 1 is to 70. Now, if we are able to culture the corneal endothelium and utilize it for transplantation, the 1 is to 1 ratio can be brought down to 1 is to 8, meaning that with one cornea we can treat 8 patients. And as per some recent studies which are ongoing and the results which have come from endothelial cell cultures, it is possible to even treat 300 patients with one donor cornea, because you can culture the endothelial cells and provide that number of endothelial cells for transplantation grade. Secondly, we will be able to simplify the endothelial surgery still further, so it will be more acceptable. And thirdly, it is well known that more selective the transplantation becomes, and especially with endothelial cell-based therapy, the chances of rejection are going to be negligible. So this is something which is known, and which is there's evidence coming up for this therapy, and that is also generates one more interest in endothelial cell-based therapy for endothelial problems. Now, what are the main stages of culturing? Now, culturing the endothelial cells, we require 3 critical processes. First, isolation of the endothelial cells, their preservation, and then their expansion into sheets or direct implantation or direct injection into the anterior chamber. So, isolation of endothelial cells is by the standard technique where we peel off the Descemet's membrane from the donor cornea, and now the Descemet's membrane has to be removed, and this is subjected to an enzymatic treatment. This is usually treated with collagenase and trypsin EDTA to remove the Descemet's membrane and just have pure endothelial cells. The loosened up endothelial cells from the detached Descemet's membrane are then pipetted out, and then the endothelial cells are subjected to culture media which promotes the growth of the endothelial cells. And we can use artificial matrices, which could be bare culture dish, it could be amniotic membrane, collagen scaffolds, or lens capsule to expand the endothelium into a monolayer. Now, how do you know we are able to grow the cells? First is direct visualization. We can stain with trypan blue and see them under the light microscope as shown in these pictures, or stain with the alizarin red. Both can be seen under the microscope, as endothelial cells can be made out under the direct examination. Immunohistochemistry also helps to know like how well the cell membrane is. We can stain for sodium potassium ATPase, and certain biomarkers are there, tag 1A3 and tag 2A12, which can be used to know the endothelial cells are there in place. How do you know the functionality of these cells? There's a way of assessing the barrier function by using transendothelial electric potential to know like what we are culturing has a good endothelial function as well. Now, this is one picture to show the culture of the cells which happened, which we did over here from a 1-week-old donor. So this is at 4 days how it appears, and then at 9 days, and then at 12 days. There are certain culture variables which may affect the endothelial cell culture, such as the age of the donor. Younger donors are much easier to culture, and the cells from the periphery is far easier to culture than from the central area. The death to preservation time of the donor does have a role, because if there's a shorter preservation time, we are able to culture the cells much faster and much more easily. There are certain issues related to endothelial culture, such as establishing a standard and consistent protocol, and this is quite a challenge amongst various groups. There is still a way to find out what is the ideal cell culture method, what is the ideal culture media, and what is the best substrate for the cultured endothelial cells. There are certain other challenges. Sometimes the endothelial cells which are being cultured lose their unique structural morphology after several rounds of passages, and some of the cells may lose this much sooner than the other. What typically can happen is that many of the endothelial cells go into a mesenchymal transformation, meaning that they lose their function and they are just like mesenchyme, like a fibroblastic tissue. Certain times there can be fibroblastic contamination while having the culture, so the cells have no function and they can undergo massive apoptosis. So these are the challenges which come in the way of the culture methods. So what is the present status of endothelial culture? So I've just summarized in this slide. So human corneal endothelial cells have been successfully cultured with various protocols of culture methods to a reasonably good extent. There's a possibility to have a good endothelial monolayer with many of the techniques and with certain monolayers and matrices available. The endothelial cell density of transplantation grades can be achieved, and certain pharmacological measures such as Rho kinase inhibitors can help to spread out the endothelial cells on the scaffolds. So this is the the endothelial culture stands as of today. So how do we take these into our practice? Now, how do we apply this? First is endothelial cultures this method can be used to prevent the endothelial cell loss. How do we do that? First, the patients who have got endothelial problems. Now, in those patients who are in the early stage, we can take tissue or cells from them and we can kind of stimulate their own endothelial cells to reproduce. So that could be one method. So second method is to facilitate the proliferation or at least the expansion division in the donor cornea, so that whatever cells you're transplanting have a much higher endothelial cell density compared to what the donor cornea may be having otherwise. Next is to treat the endothelial cell loss. This could be done by transplanting the cultured endothelial cells by direct injection or by using a biomembrane to the cornea of the patients. And the sources of these could be the peripheral skirts of transplanted corneas or the pediatric corneal tissues which do not get utilized for transplantation. What are the methods of delivery? The cell delivery on scaffold was the first method. There are various scaffolds available, like you have the cells and you have expanded on the sheet, and then these can be transplanted into the patient's eye. Now, the common cell delivery scaffolds used are the amniotic membrane, we have the silk fibroin, there's decellularized corneas, and lens capsule also has been attempted. There are certain synthetic and semi-synthetic ones, such as the peptide hydrogels, and this is a sheet on which the endothelial cells can be expanded. And as you see, there's an injector through which this cornea, the cultured donor cells, can be transplanted into the patient's eye. There are other semi-synthetic methods as this one. This is the RAF scaffold, which is also being developed in certain places. And then the most important one is direct endothelial cell injection therapy, which was the landmark Kinoshita's paper, where he reported the 2 years outcomes of direct endothelial cell therapy, where patients, the anterior chamber was injected with cultured cells, and the patient maintained a supine posture followed by recovery of the corneal edema, and results were obtained after serial time points. The initial ways of transplanting the endothelial cells was in animals, but the human transplantation has been performed, and there are two studies. The Parikurumar et al. Studies from 2018 is using the scaffold, and Kinoshita's paper and Kinoshita's study from the Japanese group is the direct endothelial cell injection, and where they have achieved good results in patients with Fuchs endothelial dystrophy up to a period of 2 years, 24 weeks to 2 years, and in these nano composite gel sheet, the study duration was about 18 months. Now, where do we stand as of now? We know as of now what we understand is what causes the switch to turn on the regenerative capacity of endothelial cells in vivo is not really known yet. But endothelial cell culture based therapy is possible, given the culture is a possibility in the lab. And however, what is required is more follow-up data and consistency of the results. Until then, I would say endothelial keratoplasty is here to stay with us.